Imagine driving down a quiet highway on a crisp December evening. The world around you is hushed under a blanket of Texas darkness until a blinding eruption of light pierces the night sky. In an instant, the frigid air turns scorching hot, singeing your face and arms. For Betty Cash, Vickie Landrum, and 7-year-old Colby, this was no ordinary detour. What hovered above them defied explanation. A massive, diamond-shaped craft spewing flames and radiating enough heat to leave raw, painful burns. As if torn from a science fiction thriller, the searing glow was joined by a thunderous roar overhead, a formation of Chinook helicopters seemingly in frantic pursuit. Was it a top-secret military test gone awry, an extraterrestrial visitation, or something far stranger? And why were these 3 unsuspecting witnesses left with injuries that doctors struggled to diagnose? Rumors of a cover-up soon emerged. Officials denied involvement. Skeptics pointed to natural phenomena. And yet the victims' harrowing accounts and the scars they bore refused to be dismissed. This was only the beginning of one of the most puzzling and hotly debated UFO incidents on record. To uncover how a routine drive turned into a burning nightmare, we must return to that fateful night and follow the trail of government denials, medical mysteries, and a question that haunts believers and doubters alike. What really scorched the sky above Dayton, Texas? Quiet roads, rumored skies. East Texas in late 1980 was a landscape of gently rolling fields and tall pines, where neighborly waves and pickup trucks were part of the everyday scene. By day, folks tended to modest homesteads or small businesses. By night, roads became dark ribbons stretching beneath endless starlight. It was an area known for close-knit communities, where everyone recognized the local shopkeeper and whispered stories, from ghost tales to the occasional claim of lights in the sky. Though few took such rumors seriously, they lingered like background static, ever present yet never fully acknowledged. Betty Cash was a resilient local businesswoman, known for her independent streak and sharp mind. She thrived on routine and rarely entertained the bizarre. Her friend Vickie Landrum, a devout and family-oriented Texan, spent most evenings caring for her grandson, 7-year-old Colby. Together, they represented a quintessential snapshot of small-town life, practical, unassuming, and grounded in the daily rhythms of work, home, and church. Most days blended seamlessly into the next. In an era before cell phones and constant media chatter, the biggest events often revolved around church gatherings, high school football, or an occasional county fair. If anyone in Dayton muttered about UFO sightings or hush-hush military craft, it was usually dismissed as idle talk or that old story someone's cousin once told. Still, a sense of quiet curiosity flickered beneath the surface. Texas had its share of legends, so why wouldn't there be more out there, hidden beyond the tree line? As December wrapped up, nighttime temperatures dipped lower than usual, lending the region an unfamiliar chill. People went about their holiday come-downs, returning from visits to relatives, clearing leftover decorations. Yet the hush of winter evenings brought a certain stillness. Anyone traveling those long roads felt it. A cocoon of darkness, broken only by the headlights and scattered porch lamps. It was against this unremarkable backdrop that Betty, Vickie, and Colby set out on a drive that would change everything. It began just like any other trip, a simple journey home, made countless times before. Yet on this particular night, an ordinary road through unassuming pines would host something far outside the realm of normal. Local gossip had never hinted at an encounter so intense, and after the events of that night, neither the local hush nor the 3 witnesses' lives would ever be the same. The fire in the sky. Betty Cash gripped the steering wheel as her headlights cut through the darkness. Beside her, Vickie Landrum calmly reassured young Colby in the back seat. They had driven this lonely stretch of East Texas highway countless times, yet something felt different tonight. There was an almost electric charge in the air, The pines loomed taller, shadows stretched wider, and the hush of the roadside seemed oddly alive. Suddenly, a glow appeared above the treetops, faint at first but rapidly intensifying. At first glance, Betty thought it might be an airplane or helicopter, yet it hung far too low and moved with a strange, hovering ease. Vickie later recalled her heart pounding, an instinctive sense that they were approaching something they weren't meant to see. Nervous but curious, Betty eased off the gas. The car rolled to a stop, and all three peered through the windshield into the night. Hovering just beyond the tree line was a large, diamond-shaped craft. It pulsed with an amber light that radiated outward, washing the car in a flickering glow. Flames seemed to burst from its underside intermittently, like an otherworldly exhaust. Colby cried out, pressing himself against the seat. The heat rolling off the craft was startling. Betty could feel it on her face, making her skin prickle as if she were standing too close to a roaring fire. Against Vickie's pleas, Betty unbuckled her seatbelt and stepped outside for a better look. The air smelled hot, almost metallic. She shielded her eyes from the glare, amazed and terrified in equal measure. As she would recount later, the craft produced a kind of vibration that pressed against her chest. The stillness of the night accentuated every detail. The high-pitched whir, the flicker of flames, and the harsh glow illuminating the trunks of nearby pines. Moments later, the silence broke. Overhead, the thunderous chop of multiple helicopter blades erupted, flooding the scene with mechanical noise. As Betty looked up, she saw the unmistakable silhouettes of large twin-rotor Chinooks, at least a dozen of them, encircling the area. Their spotlights swept through the dark sky, converging on the strange craft as if in pursuit. The entire tableau felt like a page torn from a science fiction novel. A blazing, unidentified object and a military-style formation crowding the Texas night. Uncertain and alarmed, Betty scrambled back into the car, her skin flushed from the heat. Vickie was trembling, and Colby clutched the seat with wide-eyed fear. No one spoke. They simply stared at the craft as it slowly drifted higher, flames periodically shooting downward. One of the helicopters banked sharply, its rotors echoing in the still air, and then all at once, the diamond-shaped object and the swarm of whirring aircraft ascended over the treetops. Within seconds, the lights vanished, leaving the road draped in darkness once more. Breathing heavily, Betty started the engine and pressed the accelerator, eager to put distance between them and whatever they had just witnessed. It was only then that the full weight of the shock set in. Their skin felt hot to the touch, and a faint smell of scorched metal clung to their clothes. Vickie murmured an urgent prayer, while Colby quietly whimpered in the back seat. None of them knew yet what harm might have been done. In that moment, they only knew that something far beyond the ordinary had crossed their path, and the repercussions were just beginning to unfold. The Cash-Landrum controversy. Word of the strange sighting spread slowly at first. In a region where farming worries and school sports usually dominated conversations, a tale of flaming UFOs and blistering heat seemed almost too wild to believe. Yet as Betty Cash and Vickie Landrum pursued medical treatment for their worsening burns, hushed curiosity began to replace initial disbelief. Did something truly extraordinary happen on that lonely road? Or was it an overblown scare? From the beginning, the physical clues, or lack thereof, added to the mystery. Betty developed painful blisters, hair loss, and bouts of swelling. Vickie displayed red, irritated patches on her skin, and young Colby described feeling sickly and flushed. Some doctors likened these ailments to radiation exposure, but investigators who surveyed the supposed landing area found no measurable radiation or scorched foliage. Skeptics contended that if a powerful energy source had hovered there, the terrain should have offered concrete proof, be it charred earth or residual radioactivity. Despite the puzzle, the case drew official notice. Betty and Vickie's pleas led to an investigation by John Schuessler of the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, who meticulously documented their accounts and examined their medical history. His findings reached the U.S. Army Inspector General's office, prompting Lieutenant Column George Saran to look into whether military craft might have been involved. Although Saran found the witnesses credible, especially given the severity of their symptoms, he couldn't connect any of the Chinook helicopters to military. The Army's denial of any involvement, while plausible on paper, seemed suspicious to those who had heard the deafening roar of at least a dozen large choppers overhead. Media attention intensified once Betty and Vickie filed a $20 million lawsuit against the U.S. government, alleging that unacknowledged military tests caused their injuries. Although the case was dismissed in 1986 for lack of evidence linking the helicopters to specific agencies, it did spotlight the deeper question. If not the Army or National Guard, then who was flying those aircraft? Locals speculated about secret government prototypes, others pointed to an extraterrestrial origin, and a few insisted it was all mistaken identity under extreme stress. Skeptics such as Philip J. Klass questioned why no ongoing radiation was detected later and suggested chemical exposure or psychosomatic factors might account for the women's burns. Another critic, Stuart Campbell, proposed that the bright star canopus, often near the horizon, could have played tricks on the witnesses' eyes, though that hardly explained the searing heat or the dramatic helicopter presence. As the case unfolded, neighborly opinions diverged. Some trusted Betty and Vickie's earnest testimonies, while others accused them of attention-seeking or falling prey to collective hysteria. Without definitive proof, no solid radar data, no official pilot statements, researchers found themselves at an impasse. Even the Army's investigation concluded with a shrug, neither validating the UFO claims nor definitively refuting them. In the end, each theory left a piece of the puzzle unsolved. The Cash-Landrum incident remained a tangle of plausible scenarios, clashing testimony, and the haunting physical consequences suffered by 3 ordinary Texans. To this day, the question echoes: what truly burned that quiet Texas sky, and why can't anyone say for sure? The aftermath. Decades later, no official explanation has ever emerged for the blazing craft Betty Cash, Vickie Landrum, and young Colby encountered on that dark Texas highway. Their injuries, unlike anything local doctors had seen, sparked investigations, lawsuits, and endless debates. Yet despite all the interviews, official denials, and expert opinions, the truth remains elusive. Were the 3 witnesses truly exposed to advanced technology? Or could there be a more mundane answer hiding behind the swirl of rumor and speculation? The lingering impact on the witnesses was profound. Betty's health continued to decline, culminating in her passing on December 29, 1998, exactly 18 years after the incident. Vickie never stopped searching for answers before her own death in 2007, while Colby has largely avoided public attention. Their story, tangled in legal proceedings and conflicting reports, stands as a stark reminder that some phenomena slip beyond the reach of easy categorization. Could it have been a covert military experiment, an alien visitation, or a grand misinterpretation of earthly events? Even today, the Cash-Landrum case prompts questions that science, skepticism, and belief have yet to resolve. In the end, the road near Dayton remains just another unremarkable stretch of asphalt, until night falls and imaginations stir, recalling a fiery encounter that refuses to be forgotten. Was the Cash-Landrum UFO encounter a genuine brush with the unknown, alien or otherwise? Or could there be a more earthly explanation hidden behind military secrecy? I'd love to hear your theories, so let me know your thoughts below. Thank you for watching Mr. Alien Files. If you enjoyed this ufology mystery, continue exploring the unexplained in our next video. Let's keep pushing the boundaries of what we know and what we dare to believe.